If Donald Trump wins the nomination, who will be his VP? What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video today. It is time that we talk about the 2024 presidential election and start to look more and more at who will or potentially could be Trump's VP next year. I mean, let's be 100% honest. This could very well be the most critical decision Trump has ever made politically or potentially in his entire life. As this VP slot, let's be real here. We need somebody that's really good on the issues, but also somebody that can help win an election and would scare the crap out of the establishment all at once. You need somebody that, kind of like the insurance policy for Trump. What we thought DeSantis was, we need one that's an actual insurance policy for Trump. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, so we're going to be looking at this article that was created by Steak for Breakfast, a very great podcast that I recommend everybody tune into. I believe it's, every Tuesday and Friday. You know, I don't listen to every single podcast, but usually they have some pretty big names like George Santos and who else? I think a couple other congressmen were in that. But either way, they're great podcasts. Go follow them. Go watch their, or I should say, listen to their podcast. Yeah, it's Steak for Podcast on Twitter. Go follow them, and you get the link to all their stuff. And they put out a new Substack related to the VP slot, about who's potentially in it, who is not, who's the front runner, all of it. And I'm going to say this flat out, I would agree with most of this. I quickly scanned through some of it, and I do agree with what I've seen. And their criteria is, and this is what it says, our selection is not our personal choice for VP, but is the one who makes the most sense at this point in the primary season. The eventual VP pick is going to be the candidate who not only identifies with the America First base, but the one who's going to be a ticket mate that can bring in voters from both sides of the aisle and can help Trump win a nationwide election next fall. Like I said, this is going to be the insurance policy. If the establishment does something freaking nuts like impeachment or worse, you want somebody here that could be just as scary for the establishment as Trump, but also somebody that can help win an election for him. So here's kind of the honorable mentions that a couple of them could have been seen as, VP's picks a year ago, but it doesn't seem likely. And obviously the big one is Carrie Lake. And the only reason she's probably not going to be the VP is the fact she is 99.9% running for the Senate seat in Arizona. That's kind of a foregone conclusion. Let me be clear. I do not regret supporting Lake in 2022. I don't. Because the other candidates either sucked or were 1%. So I don't regret Lake in that situation. But in the past week or so, especially, more like the past year, or actually like 12 or 6 months or whatever, she has really been saying and doing stuff that I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not attacking her. I'm not attacking her people either. I'm just saying that some of the stuff, especially like you go after Blake Masters, you attack him for not talking about elections 24/7. Like, what are you freaking doing? Blake Masters is a great guy, and you're attacking him for having somebody on a space that doesn't focus on election integrity 24/7. What? Again, I still like Lake for, a press secretary position. But outside of that, it's like, I don't know how much she does add to the base, especially when you got Trump on the ticket. Kari Lake's whole thing is she can get diehard Trump voters out. That's true. With Trump on the ticket, they're already going to vote. So while in the policy stuff, I think she does add something to the ticket, electorally, what does she add? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but you add more MAGA to the ticket? You don't need that next year, especially with Trump on the ticket. So Lake has always been seen, in my opinion, that was never going to happen. But, as of now, it's looking like she's kind of out of the contention, especially since she's probably going to run for the Senate seat. Now, this is one that I never thought of. Byron Donalds. Now, 2 years ago, I really didn't know enough about this guy. But in the past year, I've grown to become a big fan of Donalds for the simple fact that he actually stands his ground on certain issues. He's not a complete Brexit grifter. He's not somebody that makes a big deal about his race 24/7. Like, yeah, he makes a joke here and there. But it's like, he doesn't make race his entire identity. He has a very good record. One of the best, I would say, especially in the already strong Florida delegation. And Donalds, I think, will be a rising star in the GOP. With that being said, however, for VP, I don't know how much he adds. He's a congressman, and while he's getting more name recognition, congressmen tend not to be the nominee for the fact that no one knows who you are. You represent 500,000 people. That's not the only reason, but again, what does he really add to the ticket? Now, the good news, however, is it sounded like he is going to run for the governorship in 2026 since DeSantis is forced to retire. And I think he would be a damn good governor. Abso-frickin-lutely. But for VP, I don't know what he adds. I just want to see a bit more. Maybe down the line he could be a good nominee. He's only, 40? He's very young, but the fact he's already getting discussions about being the VP is pretty impressive. Now, this is the one that, outside of one other person, I would want this to be true, but let's be clear about this. Vance is probably not going to be the VP at all. And I wouldn't want him to be. When you think about it logically, yes, policy-wise, I frickin' want him. With that being said, however, he is, in my opinion, a perfect senator from the state of Ohio. And I think every senator in the U.S. Senate, especially on the Republican side, should be like Vance. He doesn't suck. He actually cares about the people of Ohio, and his voting record's pretty damn good. Here's the thing, though, which I know a lot of you have been hearing and talking about. I think he's going to be running for president in 2028, and he just got elected to the Senate. I don't see him running now for VP, but I think he's going to run down the line for president, and while this could be a big name recognition boost, I think it is best for him to stay in the Senate because he's more effective there. Absolutely. I mean, you need more Vances, Hawleys, Tubervilles. You don't need frickin' Mitch McConnell's clone in Ohio. No, you don't want that. So while there are many positives of this, I'm kind of glad he's not going to be the VP more than likely. But who knows? Now, one that came out of the blue was Doug Burgum. Now, outside of energy and China, he is not crap. He's just meh on the issues. His specialty is 100% energy. And I do believe that if Trump does win in 2024, he's probably going to be the energy secretary, which I would be fine with. He's the only one that actually has a comprehensive plan on fossil fuels, on energy as a whole. Now, not nuclear like a certain other person, but I would say, relatively speaking, energy, which is an important issue, he's damn effective on. But I don't know if that's really good for a VP slot. You know, one issue, I don't know. Being a one-issue candidate tends not to go well, but hey, we just got to see what happens. And those were the 4 candidates that you could maybe, in a full moon, and it's a red full moon, maybe you would see this, but they're probably not going to happen. But these next 4 are the ones that everybody can agree on, or at least on the short list, at the very least. And the first one is Lee Zeldin from New York 21st. Now, I know I said that congresswomen or men, they're not as known as, senators, which is true. But Zeldin, at least she is in the leadership. She's the chair of the House Republican Conference and the 4th ranking member on the GOP side. She's definitely been focusing on trying to appeal to the MAGA base. She's been trying to claim she was a MAGA Republican, and I have some doubts about it, but she's been kind of showboating that I'm the America First Republican, I'm the MAGA candidate. Problem is, what does she add to the ticket? I mean, I from everything I've seen, she doesn't really add much. So, at least Zeldin, I would say as of now, just be the congresswoman from New York 21 and just prove yourself. I just don't think you'd be a good VP. Now, this is where things definitely get a bit intriguing. And it does make me really wonder what's his game plan. But Vivek Ramaswamy, by far, is, outside of Trump, one of the most talked about Republicans right now. For the simple fact, he went from polling at below 0, like 5 months ago, to polling ahead of DeSantis in several polls. He's a guy that came out of the blue and is seemingly appealing to his part of the base. Here's the problem, though. One, there's some serious question marks about him on certain issues like immigration, on social issues. There's definitely that big question mark. And number 2, really, what does he add to the ticket? Again, you're noticing a trend. So far, all these candidates, they're not really adding anything to the ticket, especially electorally. Maybe Vance, I'll make that argument because he is from the Midwest and he is actually fairly popular based on some polling after the East Palestine stuff. Whoops, I accidentally showed the next one. But Ramaswamy, I don't know who you really add or what you add to the ticket other than maybe being younger. That's the only thing I can think of. But those candidates, they're like, what do you add? This next one, everybody knows this. I have been pushing for this for 5 months now, or more like closer to 8 months. Lee mother effing Zeldin. I don't care that he lost in frickin' New York last year. I can care less. You nearly won it. And he did, single-handedly save us in the House by getting enough Republicans over the hump. This guy took the Youngkin strategy and hooked it up to steroids and made it, quite frankly, a frickin' beast. I mean, Zeldin ran a perfect campaign, and really, the polling data indicates if he would have surged even 2 weeks prior than he did, because that was a last-second surge. It was closer beforehand, but the last 2 weeks or so, that's when Zeldin really picked it up. There's a good chance he's governor right now. But he perfected the strategy of don't freaking ignore these blue areas. Hammer it. Talk to every single voter in the state. Doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. Every vote matters. And many of these Democrats in New York City, many of them have never been visited by a Democrat because they take their vote for granted. But Zeldin knocked on doors. He talked with people, did a bunch of rallies in the deepest, bluest parts of the city. That's why he came close to winning. And also his Long Island strength. But he does add two things to the ticket. One, he's an excellent campaigner. I don't think anything else needs to be said. And if Trump, let's say, goes under house arrest, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not, we need a VP that, damn well, you need him to campaign, get this guy on there. Zeldin can absolutely campaign. He's an effective campaigner, and I could see him barnstorming the country for Trump if he absolutely needs to. But number two, he does have a unique appeal, unlike the other candidates. He's good on the issues overall, but also, he is able to appeal to these moderates, independents, even Democrats. That's the big thing a lot of people have kind of forgotten. That Zeldin, he needed to win a lot of moderates, Democrats, and all these other people. It wasn't just frickin', you see here, it was Trump, the Democrats didn't turn out. They turned out in New York, not as much as 2020, but still, they turned out at pretty high rates. And even then, Zeldin had to pick off, a good chunk of them. Because he has a unique appeal. He's able to appeal to these voters that somebody like Trump can't. And even if it's only a 3% increase with independents, or 2%, at that point in time with turnout differences from 2020, that alone could potentially give Trump the presidency. So I think Zeldin's number one choice, in my opinion. But according to Steak for Breakfast, they have him as number 2. And the number one person, and I actually kind of agree with this, for the front runner of the VP, is Kristi Noem. Not a big fan of hers. Many of you know I'm not a fan of her, especially on the transgender stuff. That was a freaking joke. And Yankee Perspective, who lives in South Dakota now, go follow his Twitter feed. He goes over why Kristi Noem sucks on certain issues. The only two things that I could see her adding to the ticket is one, and quite frankly, I think this is just iffy, is, she's a woman. Yay, who frickin' cares? I know Trump wants to have a woman on the ticket to appeal to women, but I don't know if that's the way to do it. But number two, and I would say this could potentially be a good idea, is if you've been watching Fox News, if you're watching, any national news lately, you've been noticing that Kristi Noem has been spending a lot of adverts on national television, telling people to move to South Dakota to, grow the economy, be a blue-collar job. Maybe she has a Midwest appeal. I don't freaking know. But theoretically, she has been campaigning a lot especially on her advertising, of the blue-collar South Dakota. Move here to get a blue-collar job. Maybe she has a blue-collar appeal that we don't know about. But we just got to see what happens. And anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below. Subscribe. Share with your friends. Hit that little bell. Follow the social media accounts in the description down below. And of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, of this list, I want Zeldin. Just give us Zeldin, please. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.